It's all about questions. I think, especially selling in general, but calls, it's all about questions. Telling someone something isn't as effective as asking them if they've heard the information.
Welcome back to another episode of my podcast, Relentless Life on Your Terms, Season 5. Have a guest for us, John Angelopoulos, who's just about to enjoy his 5-year anniversary in business. He's only 27 years old. He started his first business at 22. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, quite impressive for such a young man. Tell us how your entrepreneurial journey started at 22. How did you get the bug? And then talk us through the last 5 years.
Well, it wasn't on purpose, actually. So I was working at the time for a luxury real estate brand here in Melbourne. I had been working since I was 17 doing that while I was also completing my double degree in commerce and real estate. I just found an opportunity where I could sort of work and do something for myself, but there was no intention of it being any sort of business. Actually, my grandparents live in Greece, in Kalamata. And the plan was that I could go live there for a little bit. If I could generate some sort of Australian income for, a couple of weeks or every so often, just enough to keep me afloat while I was living in Greece, then that was really the intention. And slowly that turned into what the business is now. I didn't originally plan it to be. It took probably 3 months, 4 months of me just doing it myself before I sat down. And actually it was my dad that said, hey, maybe there's a business here. Maybe sit down and plan it out and see what that could look like. So...
And obviously it goes back, and obviously I met you at Club of United Business,
Yes.
which you worked there, which I always thought you were a very polite, nice young man. You used to come and speak to me and ask me all these questions. And for you to start your business and do very well, I can say I'm very proud watching your journey. And your company is called Meson.
Yes.
For those who don't know, or those who aren't Greek, what does Meson mean?
It's essentially the middleman, which was the intention. I think the literal translation is the middle, but it's meant to be essentially the middleman because our business isn't the end user. It's not the first sort of server of the lead or the creator of the lead. We're just the middleman helping service it.
So what exactly is Meson?
So Meson's an onshore contact center that works primarily in the property space, primarily with real estate agents right now, but ultimately it's an onshore contact center that helps with database management and appointment setting. So
what is the biggest issues you're trying to solve?
Time. People don't have the time to be doing the stuff that we do or at the volume that we're doing for most companies. The other issue is just staffing, finding good staff, managing them, having people work consistently and working towards KPIs. And then I guess finally people specializing in what they're good at. Again, primarily we work with real estate agents, and the reason behind it from what I noticed working in the industry was that you're both an administrative person, you're a salesperson, you're a negotiator, you're doing 10 different jobs at once. And my sort of mentality at the time was that there were some agents that I worked with that were incredible negotiators or incredible auctioneers or incredible, maybe just the admin, just the general day-to-day type activities. But all of it together, someone would fall short. So some of the better operators that I saw were outsourcing, well, not outsourcing at the time, but sort of delegating those specific tasks so they could be more effective at what they do. And that's essentially what we do, but from an outsourcing perspective.
So basically you do what you're doing, as in for the other company that employs you or hires you, whatever you want to call it, what you're good at doing, whether that be selling, whatever that case may be.
Yep.
We'll have the staffing in terms of data management, creating leads, whatever that customer might want.
Yep.
So you can do streamline your business and focus on what you're good at.
Exactly right. Yeah. So if you're a salesperson, you're a real estate agent, you don't have time to speak to all the people that came through, you open for inspections, or you're in finance, all the people that inquire on any sort of Facebook or Instagram ads that you run. We're there to make sure that there's someone with a nice, friendly, customer service type call that touches base on behalf of your company as well. We don't say we're calling from Meson, we say we're calling on behalf of your company, and get in contact with them, and then the intention being obviously qualify them into an appointment, but at the bare minimum, qualify them and leave a note for potential follow-up down the line.
So basically what it does is also mines and cleans up your data, but also creates those opportunities. So you sift through those opportunities. You're calling on behalf of the company, so it appears very good from a client service, client experience point of view.
Yep.
And you're also making sure that all those contacts are being made because it's very, very hard to hire staff, find staff, and train staff, and do it all yourself.
100%, yeah. And I'm biased in saying this, but I think it's also sort of the best form of marketing because You're going to do your sponsorships. You're going to do your Facebook, Instagram. There's going to be a whole variety of different forms of marketing. And it's not to say to stop them. But with this form of marketing, you're getting a direct response. You're speaking to someone, you're getting forward some form of information, whether it's, hey, just letting you know that, we've added a new service or whatever it may be. And then getting direct response as to, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's book me in. Or that's a horrible idea. I'm not interested whatsoever. So again, all that information is relayed back. It's to some degree data mining. It's ultimately qualifying. And then if possible, it's booking appointments to make, I guess, like you said, you or your team more effective.
Yeah, and focus on the things that are generating revenue.
Exactly.
But it's so important, even from an evaluation perspective, to have clean data
Yes. with
your clients, to updated emails, updated phones, and all those things. It actually plays a massive key role.
100%. Yeah. And like you were saying as well, we've spoken about this with people in the finance industry as well. Sometimes it's just about having that touch point, whether it be once a quarter. You might not have the time to speak to all of your clients, especially once you get to a book the size of 1,000, 2,000 large. And this isn't going to replace you necessarily, but it's going to be sort of the next best option. I always say it's never going to be as good as you calling them, but unfortunately, as businesses grow, you won't have time to call everyone in your database. This is the next best option.
But it's also touching base though.
Yes.
And allowing you to do other things. So I keep going back to that's important. Now, for me, I'm a little bit old fashioned in the sense I've been in real estate for now just around 25 years.
Yes.
And it was all before the social media and before this marketing. What I love about phone selling or direct response marketing is you can measure it so well.
Yes.
You can see how effective it is, how it's working, which means you can put more money into it and really scale it up. And I've always found the biggest advantage is you can measure it so well. It's not, it's going to be added to your branding. It might be working. The lead might be coming somewhere else. We can't measure it. This is very measurable.
Yes. Yeah. My one of my sales guys always says if a letterbox drop gets dropped in someone's bin and they delete it straight away once it gets to their house, you would have no idea. An email comes into their inbox and they delete it. I mean, some of those email trackings you're able to tell, but most times you're not able to tell how responsive people are to your marketing. Like you said, with this way, you know exactly what the response is.
And even if you can, to some degree, it definitely won't be as effective.
Sure.
The data won't be as, I guess, fulsome or as accurate because you can make 100 calls, you've contacted 10 people, you've spoke to 3, it cost you X.
Yes, exactly right.
Which makes a big difference. So what made you get into this line of work?
It was somewhat accidental. Again, I was working as a real estate agent. Ironically, I hated making calls, but it was that I didn't like sitting there making a lot of calls. So I started reading books from people like Lee Woodward and a few other sales trainers, and realized if I get better at it, I don't need to be on the phones as long. Because if I'm smarter at what I say, it's not just a volume game. So
pointier questions?
Pointier questions. It's all about questions. I think, especially selling in general, but calls, it's all about questions. Telling someone something isn't as effective as asking them if they've heard the information.
It's very different. Have you heard of the book, The Questions Are the Answers by Alan Peace?
I actually haven't, no.
It's a very, very good sales book, and I refer it to most of the people that I train. It's how you ask questions. A good sales professional, and Tom Hopkins believes only 4% of people are sales professionals, are the ones that are asking the questions. And I always use the analogy, if you go see a specialist, what's the first thing that he does?
What's wrong with you?
And then what's the second thing he does? Keeps asking more questions, because they want more information, That's when you can see if you're a specialist or an expert in your field or someone just asking questions. Yeah. And I always like that analogy because I really understand. You can see who is that sales professional because he's asking a lot of questions, and B, he starts asking the right questions, more pointier questions, which is what you've realized from reading all these books as well, which makes a big difference.
Yeah, exactly right. And it was I had the experience of showing a lot of people through properties. I was essentially a buyer's agent for one of the partners at the company I was working at. And my job was to take people to some of these beautiful luxury homes. And he was incredible. His name was Michael. And he told me, just ask them questions about what they think. Don't tell them this is the best property. Don't show them something and explain to them why it's the best. Ask them what they think of it. As simple as that. You can explain something to them and then say, what do you think at the end?
So it's feedback.
And it's feedback.
It's getting things back, Yeah, but I think the landscape's changed. I think the great sellers, they don't sell anything.
No.
People buy off them.
Yes.
How do they do it? Through questioning.
Through questioning.
And I think the landscape's changed a lot, especially in the last, I've been in sales for over 30 years now, showing my age, but since I was 10, so almost 35 years. Yeah. But back then it was, what could I sell you? Yeah. Now the question is, how can I help you?
Right.
People have so much knowledge, so they're asking those sort of questions a lot more.
Yeah. Now that's actually a good point. It's probably also that now everyone has access to the information. So salespeople aren't the gatekeepers to any form of information, really, to some degree. Everyone can do their research. Maybe let's use cars as an example. Most people, when they go into a car dealership, they've done their research. They've probably looked on car sales, seen comparables. It's more or less coming to, I guess, feel it and then maybe see if they can get a better deal or something like that. And I think the salesperson's role now has changed from they know everything about the car, they know all the prices, and they essentially hold the keys to all the information.
To the deal, yeah.
It's more, they're now just determining whether they're really actually more guiding you through your journey now,
Facilitating
more than
the transaction.
That's it.
It's a very, very different dynamic.
Very different.
But how do you add more value now is where it's becoming more tricky.
Sure. Yeah.
As before, I need you talk to me, you're the expert. Now, even we've got clients that come in, they know so much about real estate or so much about finance, but they might be time poor.
Yes.
They might not have someone holding their hands to go through this process.
Yeah.
And it always pays dividend if someone's done the process 100 times, 500 times, 1,000 times. They've seen a lot more things go good. They've seen a lot more challenges. They can guide you.
Yes. Yeah.
So what's some of the biggest learnings you've had in Meson so far?
I've had so many. Again, I didn't start it as a business at the start, so I had the small little mistakes at the start of just when you first started up, and having to find the right accounting software and bookkeeping, and trying to manage staff while also trying to sell the business was a big difficulty for me at the start.
What do you mean sell the business? Acquire more clients?
So again, coming from
sell the business.
Sorry. Yeah, acquire more clients. Yeah. I'm coming from a sales background, so that was what I liked doing, and that's what I think I'm good at. But my admin skills they're subpar, and they still are. So I've got an incredible general manager now. His name's James, and he essentially runs the entire operations, and he's a gun. He's an absolute legend.
Systems ops person.
System ops person. He's great. And that was the best thing that I did for the business, because he's very detail orientated. He's, very methodical about everything. If I have a outlandish idea, he's the one that goes, well, okay, is this actually possible? Not, yeah, sounds good. Because if there was too many people like me in the business, then we'd try everything, probably fail at everything, and then spend all this money on nothing. So having someone that, maybe was a little bit more detail orientated and sort of operational focus was good. That was a big learning. And then probably now the biggest thing that we've been learning this year is actually about choosing the right clients. That's been a really, really big, really only till recently we've worked it out. We had positioned our business a little bit differently at the start. Again, primarily it was real estate agents, and then we started expanding into other industries, but it's a bit more than that. It's also the type of client that we wanted to bring on. We were sort of selling a smaller package at first to try and get more people in, and it wasn't the right fit for our business. So our minimum increased towards the start of this year, and we're getting a lot better at qualifying the type of client that we want to deal with. And of course, it shot us in the foot a little bit by people wanting to come on board, but they didn't meet the criteria. But now we're starting to see the fruits of that decision, because the clients we're dealing with are amazing, and they get it, and they're staying on for longer, and that retention cycle starting to kick in, and you're starting to realize, that decision I made 6 months ago was super worth it.
I think there's two key takeaways I just got from what you were saying, and I think business is very important to play the long game. Analyze things though quick and still be nimble. I'm not saying stick on a decision forever if it's not working, but play the long game and understand. And I've seen you're only a few months away from hitting a massive milestone in business. To be in business for 5 years, not many businesses can boast that. I think it's a very small percentage that actually lasts in business for 5, even smaller in 10, which I'm sure you're going to tick both milestones. It's actually a big achievement. And I think since I've spoken to you, I can see that you've grown so much from a business point of view, hence with the things you're saying now. And I think you learn that through experience.
I also think it's, and again, we've had a great relationship as well. We've had a great relationship. We have a great relationship, but it's reaching out to people like yourself and asking questions, because I remember coming to you and I've asked you how many different questions about a variety of different issues. It's not just the same thing. And there's a few other people that I call every so often and ask them questions, and everyone's very generous with their time. But I think especially as a young entrepreneur, having an older generation that's more than happy to just, give some advice, go out for a drink or dinner or whatever it may be, and help out. But that has been really, really beneficial as well, having someone that can actually look at it from top down, or from a, I guess, third person view, and just say, hey, you're doing this wrong, or whatever.
Well, I guess two things from there. I guess I never knew that was, I'm only kidding, I know you still were, but also the fact that you reached out to me and I was, as you said, good with my time. I'm like that because a lot of people are like that with me. I have business mentors and coaches, which you know, and I think you are very, very smart in the sense you came in, you were very nice, always polite, which is why I'm always entertaining to people like yourself. You took me out to dinner, and I always do things like that because I want I want to understand their journey. How can I do it better, faster, more efficient? How can I learn from your mistakes? And of course, you're
Exactly.
going to make your own. What I tend to have found, which is what you just said, a lot of really great people or entrepreneurs, they want to share knowledge and they want to see, and I use you as an example,
Yeah.
great young people do well. And it actually gives them a lot of satisfaction. They're usually
Yeah.
happy to share their knowledge.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I've had that with myself. I've actually still got, funny enough, 2, 3 business mentors and advisors, plus another one for the business as well. And that's including personal, social media.
Yeah.
I've got quite a few that I've been seeing for many years, and I can't tell you how much they've helped me. They've been game changers.
Yeah. It's been exactly what you said there as well. If you can learn from someone else's mistakes, not that you, I mean, I've still made plenty of mistakes and I'm sure I'll still make plenty more, but I would definitely, I definitely believe that if I didn't speak to people like yourself and a few of the other mentors I have, I would have made probably double, if not triple the amount of mistakes, maybe some significantly more costly mistakes as well. So just having people that can say, hey, there's some things that I've done before, don't do this. No business is exactly the same. No entrepreneurial journey is going to be exactly the same. But if I can, learn from some of your mistakes, at least, not saying mistakes, but, learn from some of your lessons.
I make a ton of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. So that's a really big help, I think. And I think as well, if there's young people out there that are wanting to start their business as well. And again, went to uni, commerce, real estate, you can learn all the fundamentals in a book, but that's, as cheesy it sounds, nothing like running a business whatsoever. And even then, there's YouTube to teach you that now. There's, online courses to teach you that. I think people are afraid to go and speak to people about their business and ideas and all that, because maybe they think, like you said, I remember your very first time I caught up with you, very time poor. I think we had 15 minutes at the start, which you were very generous to give. But I think people are afraid sometimes to just ask for that 15 minutes because they think they're going to be an annoyance or a burden to that person. But I think just asking for it and building that relationship from there, it makes a big difference.
That's nice. You were very polite. I was very persistent, and I was saying, in some cases, very pushy when I wanted something, because I would ask people over and over, can I please have some of your time? Can I please have some of your time? And I think some of them just said, listen, if you stop calling me, or yes. So then eventually they took me out. But being able to, and you actually spent a bit of time, we went out to dinner and we asked quite a lot of questions. Asking for help is 100% a strength, not a weakness, but people are shy away from that.
Yeah.
And what's the worst that's going to happen? Someone's going to say, what, no?
Yeah.
Big deal. And in most cases, they will actually say yes.
Yeah.
And I was always, I guess as a young entrepreneur, I'm still young to the game, I always see myself as learning. Just ask the question. Keep asking the question. Go speak to other people.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably one of the biggest game changers and realizations I had. And not only learning from people's mistakes, but understanding the way other entrepreneurs think that have been doing this for a long time, that live and breathe and walk the walk that you want to walk. And I think, and you were very smart in this, going up to people that have actually achieved great results or that emulate the results you want to. I think experience is vital. Results are vital. So there's a lot of business coaches and mentors that I see, and I don't think they have that experience to be sharing that knowledge yet.
Yeah.
Or that it won't be as accurate. And I use the 3 that I'm thinking of in particular that I use there. Most of my mentors are, the youngest one's 59, 60, and they're in that bracket.
Yeah.
And my social media coach is my age, but I went purely on results. But the business mentors and advisors have been around for forever and a day.
Yeah.
And they've been running big businesses, so it's always a good place to get good advice.
Yeah. And I think also what you said about finding people on the same sort of journey, or where you want to be as well. You can't really tell from the outside, but in my head, I always sort of went for people where, when I learned a little bit about you before I actually reached out to you, I can't remember, I think you were speaking to someone at Cub or something, and you were telling people about how early you wake up and all the things that you do. And I think you said everything, in your life revolves around a 1 square kilometer block. And it resonated a lot more with me. Not that there's other entrepreneurs that I wouldn't love to learn from, or I couldn't learn from, but I think when I actually meet someone that I go, I can see myself being very similar to that, or their business is similar to how I want my business to be, it always means a lot more, the advice. that
Oh, look,
someone else's advice won't.
proven track record is what I always say. I remember, because I was only living up to Valencia at the time, so it was 300 meters. Kids' school was like not even a K. I try to keep proximity close. I don't like to drive and travel, and allows me to work more. But everyone's got little tips and tricks you can learn from.
Yeah.
And I always think for mentors, you can learn great things, and there's also things that maybe I'm not too big on. You can learn that as well. There's always two things you can learn, I think, from people. Here's some great traits. And I've had some amazing leaders, some amazing mentors, some amazing bosses, whatever you want to call these people. And I've learned so much from them. I've learned a lot of great stuff. And I've also learned things that I thought, when I get to that position, I won't be like that.
Yeah.
One of my would never answer his phone, so I'm always accessible.
Yeah.
Or I'm more accessible. But there was a lot of things you can actually learn from people. And having the same values, I think, is what you're kind of saying as well, which is why we match a lot in that sense as well. But also having a proven track record.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what's on the cards for Meson in the next 5 years? Or your journey, so to speak?
Well, Meson for the next 5 years, I mean, really after COVID was when we started. We say it's almost 5 years, but I almost start counting it from when we came out of COVID. So I still think it's a 2-year-old business to some degree, and we're just still growing. So the biggest plan for Meson right now is just continue growing in the fields that we're in and continuing to offer this great service that we have. But we have added a new product a couple months ago that we're starting to promote a little bit more. It's essentially a soft launch now, which is a more of a subscription-based service than the current service that we have, which is a pay-per-conversation service. So
what does that look like?
What we currently have, just to give it as a comparison, is, you have your database of 5,000 people. We would contact them and we charge you only for the people that we actually have a conversation with, which is, quite a unique way of charging people. But that is on a ad hoc basis, depending on how much data is provided to us, when you'd like us to call. It's completely determined by our clients and when we can actually staff people. The next model that we've launched now is a subscription-based model where, depending on how many leads you have generated per week from your marketing channel, so it might be 50, 100, 150, they actually come to us first. You can still see them, but they come to us first, and we call them on behalf of your company. So we'll call them saying, hey, it's John calling from Reventon. You just inquired about X, Y, and Z. Try and qualify them and then book them into either your or one of your reps' calendars immediately. So by the time you probably even see the lead, someone's contacted them and it's already an appointment. Or there's 100 leads, there's only hypothetically 20 that are actually worth your time. We've already qualified which ones you need to focus on, and the 80 that, maybe don't meet your criteria, or once we go through the qualifying questions, they don't get through. That note's still in your CRM, updated, and a report sent back to you saying, hey, we already spoke to lead number 1, they're not relevant to you.
So obviously what that does is make sure you get to the lead straight away, because time kills deals.
100%.
Time kills appointments.
Yes.
And also, secondly, making sure no one's left.
Exactly.
So it does two things, and also fills their calendar.
Yes. And also, most people, when they go inquiring about something, unless it's from maybe a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad where it's in front of them and they've put through their details going, sure, I'll find out more. If it's something like Google, chances are they're Googling a few other competitors at the same time and putting through inquiries to 2 or 3 different things.
Got to act fast.
Sometimes it is, yeah. Especially, might not be first in best dress, but it's pretty impressive if you're not only first, but a great, nice, friendly voice has called them and qualified them straight away.
Do you also, I know the answer because we've worked together, but just for our viewers,
yes.
Do you also verify the data and
verify
get more
the
information?
Exactly, yeah. So it's not just about getting the appointment. And again, we have KPIs around that, but we don't want to push it just for the sake of it. We also are trying to validate the accuracy of the data, subscribe people to marketing emails, or unsubscribe them if it's not relevant. Again, like you said before, having accurate databases is probably the most important part of anyone's business right now.
Not only is it important, it actually directly impacts the valuation of your business.
Yeah.
Having cleaner data and better data as well.
Yes.
And I've seen so many companies, and it's something I definitely want to improve on, is having your main CRM or a CRM with clean, up-to-date data that's actually refreshed and relooked at.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, going back to the initial part when we're talking about filling out some information online, a lot of the times it's not going to be that accurate.
Yes.
Or there could be things missing for a number of reasons. You might not want to put in your data. You might be putting in data on behalf of you as a couple, which you might not actually 100%. Know the answers to that question, whatever the case may be. So having that extra filter means you're getting a higher likelihood that you're going to clean up that data or get the right data.
Yeah, yeah. Or, less so for the new lead package that we have, but just for when we do our database calling, what we did for you guys, we work with some companies that have been around for almost 100 years. We're working with a company actually in Ivanhoe that's a real estate brand that's literally having their 100-year anniversary now. And they said, we have a database of 100,000 people. We know it's not accurate. We know that half these people aren't here anymore, whatever it may be. So it's our job to some degree go, hey, nice to speak to you, but you sold your home 20 years ago. You don't live in the area. Let's move it on. And I know that's an example in real estate, but it's just as relevant.
So the 100,000 they give you might say that there's only 30,000 correct and 5,000 active.
Exactly.
Having that information is so valuable.
Super valuable. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's actually a true database.
That's a true database.
Reflection.
Yes.
But also, too, it saves so much time. You're sending people things that they don't want.
Yeah.
They might not even live there anymore.
Yes.
How often would you recommend a company to be reviewing their data and making sure it's accurate and cleaning it up or updating it?
It's probably just a bit of a two-part question because, again, there's a backlog. So no one's done it properly for a long time, especially companies that have been around for a long time. So the first part would be getting it up to date.
So let's say you've done that.
Once you've got it up to date, it wouldn't have to be that often. It'd be maybe once a quarter that you'd have to review your data. You wouldn't even have to necessarily do a whole process like ours.
Once a quarter?
Once a quarter at least, yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So just to clarify, you've gone through my database.
Yes.
There's 1,000 people making
Yes.
all the numbers up, yeah?
Yes.
You've cleaned it all up, and then you suggest going back in 4 times the following year?
That's right. For several reasons. It's not just because you're going to be contacting those people to validate the accuracy.
Is it by phone? It's by phone, isn't that?
Well, by phone, yeah, because you're going to be contacting them, you're going to be providing them with some form of relevant information, but then also updating it because, and again, once a quarter, 3 times a year maybe, but 6 months might be a little bit too long. Something happens in between. It doesn't take long with you adding new information
And
for
you
that
want
to
to
go out
catch
of way.
that quick.
You want to make sure you're on top of it straight away.
I would have thought 6 months would be suffice, but there you go.
Once a quarter, yeah. Or maybe I'm biased in saying once a quarter.
Well, look, you can't argue with having clean data, but I never thought it'd be that accurate. But I hope you're biased because that's the line of work you're in.
Sure.
Don't if you weren't. Now, definitely enjoyed our chat.
You too.
John, are you ready for your quick fire questions, sir?
Sure.
All right. Give me what is a recent aha moment that you've had in your life and how's it impacted you?
I think it was the realizing that we didn't have to take on every client, for money, and that if we just choose the right clients, it will be fine. If not,
Say
better
no
for our
more?
business. Yeah.
Say no more, pick your clients.
Pick
You
your
have to
clients.
say yes to everyone. I agree.
Yeah.
Now, if you had a magic wand and could change one thing in the world, what would you change?
Um,
Better data. Sorry.
everyone's. What could I change? Our flights to Europe being a little bit shorter. 24 hours is too long. I want to be able to get there quicker.
That's the spirit.
From Melbourne, yeah.
When you wake up, what's the first thing you think of in the morning?
Emails.
Favorite color?
Black.
Favorite food?
Pasticcio.
That's a beautiful dish. For those who don't know, it's a pasta-based dish, cream, meats, very, very nice.
The best.
What's your favorite way to give back to the community and have a positive impact?
Currently, it's more just me doing things. Financially, it's probably not a position for me right now. It's doing things, helping out. We obviously did the thing at with your charity event as well. There's
Lead with kindness came and helped. So there's many ways you can help.
As many
Doesn't
as you
always
can.
have to be monetary. It could be time. If you're fortunate enough, like myself, do both.
Yes.
Now, if you could offer one piece of advice to your younger self, now I know you're not old, what would it be though? But you've been in business 5 years, you're 27 now, I believe.
Yes.
What would it be? So the 18-year-old John.
Don't worry too much about the plan. Just do, and things will come.
Get in there and get it
in
done.
there
You
and
said your
start
best
doing it.
book.
Yes.
Now, can you share a future goal or project that you're excited to be working towards?
Well, we've developed an app internally to help manage our internal calls and actually report to our clients. Future project that I'm really excited about is we're working with AI now to actually listen to our calls, transcribe them, and then summarize them into a note, which then gets pasted into our clients' databases. So our callers can still do their calling and speaking, but they won't actually have to write notes anymore. And I know that's sort of still within the business, but pretty excited about working on that.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Nothing bad. Now, final question. Scale of 1 to 10, how much have you enjoyed being on this podcast?
10.
Excellent. Thank you very much, John, for being on.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.